Join us, the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast, on a journey where we delve into the heart of the matters that truly make a difference. Our mission is to create a platform where we can openly discuss topics that often go unnoticed or unexplored. We aim to shed light on these crucial issues and have meaningful conversations. We invite you to tune into our podcast, where we will explore the depths of these subjects and let our hearts guide the conversation. Together, we can create a space where everyone's voice is heard and where we can collectively work towards a better future. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast. I am your host. What was that? Hearst? I am your host. Danielle's laughing because it's been a day, okay? I am your host, Mia Imani, and I have the pleasure of interviewing this beautiful lady, Danielle Clardy.
Hello, everybody.
Stop laughing at me.
I'm laughing more at the fact that I'm going to have to edit it. That's what I'm editing. That's what I'm laughing at.
We can laugh. They're going to be like, really? Is this what happens?
Is this what happens?
Oh, this lady looks like she's 12, but has like literally the resume of somebody who's 80. How are you?
27. I'll be 28 in March.
Yeah, she's 12. Okay. This young lady is a dynamic and accomplished social media manager, podcast producer, and digital content creator based in Raleigh, North Carolina. If we hear you long enough, will we hear an accent?
So everybody asks me that, and everybody's like, you don't sound Southern. I'm like, it comes out when I'm angry, or certain situations you'll hear it in words. So everybody like pokes at me to make me angry. And I'm like, I don't think you want to do that. Just to hear the Southern in me, but okay.
Oh my gosh, with a strong background in building and managing social media platforms across industries, including technology, healthcare, and podcasting, Danielle specializes in crafting compelling content strategies that drive engagement and build brand loyalty. Oh, you guys are going to be calling her. As the host and executive producer of the Conversation Series podcast, Danielle brings inspiring stories to life, showcasing her expertise in podcast production, from episode editing to social media production. I can attest to all of that. Her creative work extends to managing social campaigns for clients like Illogical by Truth podcast and organizations such as Huntress Labs and Accolade Inc., where she contributed to initiatives like IPO Day social campaigns and advocacy projects.
Mm-hmm.
Woo. Danielle's versatility is reflected in her YouTube channel, where she has cultivated and engaged an audience of over 5,000 subscribers through travel and sports videos, leveraging her talent in storytelling and analytics. Committed to collaboration and innovation, this beautiful lady Danielle continues to explore ways to amplify voices and connect communities through digital media.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get into all this? What in the world?
I think I grew up in the perfect time. And to say, I mean, how young I am, yes. But I think being as young as I was when Instagram came around, when all of these social platforms, when you're on Facebook and you get the memories from 2012 of like things that you used to post, and you're like, oh my God, whoever let this child get on Facebook? I grew up in the perfect storm of somebody who today works as a social media manager and in digital media, and just I grew up with a camera in my hand. I always had a camera. I always loved being in front of the camera, not in a performance sort of way like being on stage. I was never a kid who wanted to be on stage, but always when we have family videos, when I was younger, my uncles got me basically me at all times, just like give it me in front of the camera. And so um I always grew up in this creative space of photo and video, and I absolutely loved it. And so combining everything together, when I went to college, my sophomore year, which was probably 2016, um, blogs started,
Okay.
and blogs were the thing, and blogs were catching storm. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm not the writer of the family, but I love taking pictures, and I loved fashion, and I love clothes, and I love to be able to get dressed up and just look good. Like I loved putting an outfit together, and so I still do today. Um, and so started my blog, and just awful pictures looking back now, where I'm like, my family was reading the blog. Those are the viewerships you get, but um as I was making my way through college, like I was like, all right, I got the blog. I'm doing other things now. I'm doing other adding things to it. And then YouTube caught storm in the sense of everybody started vlogging. Everybody started, you had the David Dobrik's, you had all these people who were making these videos. And I was like, well, I can do this. I've got a camera. If I can start this stuff. So started my own channel and started doing all these things. And I compare that much to my earlier episodes of my podcast where I'm like, please, for the love of God, do not go back and look at my earlier episodes or listen to my earlier episodes, because it's just train wreck. But the cool part of it was that I taught myself to edit. I taught myself completely how to edit all of these different projects. And so one thing on my channel, that we grew up traveling, my sister and my parents, um, and now that my parents are separated, like every year we go on a trip with my dad, my sister and I, and we went overseas to Europe. We went to Hawaii for his birthday. Like we've just gone to some really cool places. And so I was like, well, I can take my camera with me, and I can record the trips. And growing up in a big sports household, uh, going to a lot of sporting events. Hockey is my main sport, so I'm there 2 to 3 days a week. And so building, in the sense of building a community, I've loved having community. I grew up in a big community, and so I was wondering, how can I do this through digital media? How can I continue to do this through all these different avenues, and build this for people? And so I will have people comment on my hockey videos, be like, I was at this game, this is my team, or this is my favorite memory. And I'll never forget, I was at a game with my sister and my dad, and this little boy comes up to me. He's like, are you Danielle Clardy? And I'm kind of like looking around for the parent to see if I knew the parent from a past life when I was swim instructor. And he's like, I watch your videos on YouTube, your hockey videos. And my sister and my dad were like stunned to the fact that this little boy knew who I was from YouTube. And so that's kind of what I've always loved. I've always wanted to build this community of people who can relate through all these different things, whether it be hockey and sports, whether it is travel and you share your own experiences, whether it is through the conversation series that, we're on the sixth season now. This is 2025 is the sixth season of this. And so, whether it's connecting voices, and I mean, that started as a place of, I graduated college and got my piece of paper, and I'm like, all right, I've just been in a classroom for the last 4 years, listening and learning from people. How do I continue to do that, but do it through a bunch of different avenues, from people who are still doing some cool shit, who are still doing it? We grew up sitting around a table at the end of the day and talking with
Mm.
a lot of different people. We grew up in households and around, traveling around, talking with people. And so I wanted to learn from sports reporters who didn't get the same route that their other people, the other people around them. I wanted to talk to CEOs and founders. I wanted to talk to entrepreneurs who are going and creating some incredible platforms, some incredible businesses, small business owners here in my community that are doing some great things as well. So all this to say, created this from my love for community and just did it through a bunch of different ways to bring everybody together and whatever your interest may be.
Were you like, what did you say to the little boy who said that to you?
I said yes I am. I said I'm so happy you watch. I talked to him about his favorite player. I talked to him about some of his favorite memories and what he liked about coming to hockey games, and who he was there with his dad. And so I asked him, I was like, do you come to get like, who do you like to come to games with and everything? So really just was picking his mind and gathering, all the things that, we get asked about, and, getting into his love for the sport. And, I grew up, I was started watching hockey at the age of 4. That's when I went to my first Carolina Hurricanes
Or
game. And I've been in that arena ever since. And I've been lucky enough that got to watch the Carolina Hurricanes win the Stanley Cup in 05-06, and it's a blessing that I don't take for granted. Um, and I have a lot of memories for that, but it's just one of those things that I love to pass on and help bring other people in who don't have the ability to come to games, who, tickets are very expensive, but how can I bring the people along, so they do get to experience it and do get to see some of the game from my perspective and what we enjoy about the game.
I think that's awesome. And I'm also wondering too, like in that moment,
Yeah.
you before he came up to you and asked for your autograph, I'm wondering, were you in a space where you wanted to give up or you were kind of over it? Because I feel like I hear people say, like, but at that moment, then I was like, I realized I have to keep going.
Funny enough, I've never had that moment with my YouTube channel, because my
That's
YouTube
good.
channel has been just a place where I've really come to the expectation of like, I don't have to post every week, because this isn't something that I'm like, this isn't the area anymore where I want my main area of revenue or growth to come in. It's really just a place that when I have something fun, when I have something that I want to bring people along with, yes, I want to be able to post a video. I want to be able to eh, inspire in any way that I possibly can. I'm a runner. I do half marathons. So I do these monthly running videos showing everybody my training. And so I'll get people who share their stories, and that community is massive as well. And it's great to hear from everybody. But with the podcast, I have felt the the want and need. It was around season 3 or 4 to give up. I mean, this isn't an easy area to be in, and everybody sees I think the luxury side of some of these podcasts with Caller Daddy or any of these Barstool Sports, any of these bigger media. And I'm not hating on them at all. I listen to them constantly, but it's one where it's easier for them to get guests on. It's easier for them to be able to function. When it's someone who isn't mainstream, you're having a hard time getting yeses back. You're having a hard time just getting people to respond. So when you have stuff like that, it can be really defeating that you're spending so much time sitting there putting time and effort into putting a pitch together, working on this podcast, on this platform, for it not to feel like it's worth it. It's hard. It's very hard, and you want to give up. But I set my goals every year. If I make it, I make it. If I don't, I don't. But it's something every year I try just to get just even a little bit better, get a little bit bigger in any way that I possibly can, and hit these goals that at the very beginning weren't my intention at all. And now it's something that I am truly obsessed with. And something that this is now the area that I want to grow and be hopefully my biggest driver one day.
I love that. Is
Yeah.
there any particular guest or story that you've had on the podcast? You're like, you know what? Like, this is profound. This is amazing. Or this is funny. This is sad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. I think one that's been the most memorable for me, um, in a variety of different ways was my 100th episode. So hit 100 episodes. One, never ever thought I would ever hit 100 episodes. That was once again never my intention for any of this to, to take this as seriously as it has become for me. But at that point, it had to hit 100 episodes. That was emotional, just in and of itself, that we had gotten to that landmark. What was cool about that was I had had it in my mind for forever that I wanted to do a live audience recording. And so I had set out, I was like, you know what, this milestone coming up, I was like, this is one that I really want to do. I really, really want to do a live audience recording. So I planned the whole thing. I had put it all together, had a location. We did it at the store here in Raleigh, which is where I do all my in-person recordings. John Reese is amazing. Um, he let me come in and he lets me do all this stuff, and I get to in trade do his Instagram for him. So we have a beautiful partnership, him and I, and but he let me come in, and I had a dear friend of mine, Emily Bennett, on. She's an incredible photographer. She's a food and beverage photographer here in Raleigh. She's done the Charleston Food and Wine Festival. She does a lot for local restaurants around here. I mean, her photography is just absolutely beautiful. And her and I had worked on a Logical by Truth podcast together, and working on that project. So we had gotten to know each other for a long time. And so I reached out to her. I was like, hey, would you be up to coming on and doing this and being my guest for this? And she was game for it. Um, and so it was a real blessing. I definitely had my learnings from it, of like, yes, I wanted more people to come. I could have done things differently here. What can I do better for next time? But the thing that really hit me was I absolutely loved it. I loved being able to sit in a place with people surrounding you as you had this conversation. And so coming into 2025, I then was like, we're going to do four of these. We're going to do four events. We're going to do one every quarter. And
Oh,
so it kind of kicked me in the ass in multiple ways, just in the sense of like, that's not easy to put together. It's definitely a weakness of mine, in the sense that like I'm a woman show. I don't have people helping me. Like I edit, I do all of these things myself. And so I definitely learned where I needed the help, and have made the changes and reach out to people. And a dear friend of mine, Deja Brock, who is in Philly herself, she
hey.
she's an event manager, and so I met her when we were at Accolade together, and she immediately jumped on with me. And so the 100th episode sticks around a lot for me, just because I came home afterwards and I just sat down on my couch and I cried, because it was one of those things that I was like, whew, the emotions going through it. And it was a really great milestone. My dad was there. And he had never really seen me in that environment before. I lived with him for a period of time, so I'd be upstairs recording episodes, but he'd never seen me in an environment like that. So it was cool for him to witness that. Um, yeah, that one, I think, just overall just very memorable for me, and on the path to 200 now. Yeah.
What did your dad say? Like for him to see you in that element, like I know he was proud, but did he say anything? Did he
Yeah.
give you a look like,
Yeah, it was actually really funny, because one of my best friends was there, and she was videoing, and I think I was so wrapped up, because being the person who was in charge of everything, I was trying to say hi to people. I was trying to make sure like people were eating food and making sure we were all set up and ready. But one of my best friends, she got him on video, like holding his phone up and capturing it and everything, and he's just standing there. And so uh he told me he was proud of me, which I appreciate. Anytime, I am definitely I'm a daddy's girl. I am a carbon copy of my father, and so anytime, we are both sometimes emotionally inept, and so anytime I get a little bit from him, I'm like, thanks. Thanks, Dad. And so it was really nice. We live the closest to each other. So anytime I get to be able to make him proud, I'm very it's emotional and I'm very happy.
Danielle, that just made me like from daddy's girl to daddy's girl. That's just like so beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like he was probably like, that's my baby. Like
Yeah.
that is,
Yeah.
I just, that gives me chills. I'm serious. Like that is just so,
Yeah. Yeah.
do you feel like though, because for somebody like me,
Yeah.
you do YouTube, you have a podcast, you do that. I don't even know what digital media, I just don't know what it means. It sounds too much. I feel like you're working in Mars. Is it a lot? Like, how do you do it?
Yeah. Yeah, I it is a lot. It's a lot, and people ask me questions all the time. They're like, "How do you balance between having a full-time job and being able to do all this other stuff?" And I'm like, I always make the joke right off the bat. I'm like that grandfather in the restaurant when they come over and they're like, "How's everybody doing?" And they immediately, I'm always like, "Yeah, I don't sleep." And they're like, "Seriously?" I'm like, "No, I'm just kidding." I was I was like, you do the 9 to 5 and um you work your full-time job, and then the 5 to 9 is then when you spend the time working on editing. You spend the time making sure stuff is scheduled, stuff is posted, and a lot of people have a lot to say about what AI does today. But for me, like, I'm able to utilize platforms and utilize certain things that allows me to be more efficient, that allows me to uh, not spend hours and hours on one task, that allows me to accomplish three. So it is a lot. And there are times during the day, during the 9 to 5, where I'm like, "Oh, I kind of need to get this Instagram reel up. I kind of need to get things posted on my story." And so just trying to be as smart as possible with timing. I think the hardest part, it comes on the podcast side, when you have to book recordings. You have to be able to do stuff during the day when people are available. So it's being able to balance that and being able to realize that with a busy work schedule, I may not be able to do a podcast recording this week. I may have to prioritize and say, "Hey, we have to look at the week afterwards," or just being very transparent. Everybody at my company is very aware. Everybody kind of has their own thing now. Everybody kind of has There are a lot of people who have their own YouTube channels with people that I work with, and so it's great that we're all aware and we're all respectful, but at the same time, like, we all get our mess done, and
Yeah,
that's what keeps us going. But for me, it is, I thrive in chaos. I love chaos in a way, because chaos keeps my mind really busy. And so when my mind is busy and when I'm busy, I am super honed in on getting things done. It's like being able to sit on an airplane for 3 hours, and it's like your ADD kind of kicks off and you're just super focused in on your task.
yeah,
That's how I love to be able to function. And so being able to thrive in chaos, I absolutely love being able to go from a recording to another recording, to being able to sit in meetings, and just it forces me to focus. And so it is a lot. I do sleep. I sleep a lot. I am tired a lot of time at the end of the week. But I just try to be as efficient as possible and try to utilize as many scheduling tools and things that I possibly can to get ahead. And I always, like, I freelance. I freelance with you. You're one of my amazing clients, but I'm very aware that I never take on too many clients because I don't want to underdeliver. I want to make sure that I am delivering the best that I possibly can for my clients. So I am always very aware of, I can right now with my calendar, I can take this many clients on, or I can take more on because things are churning really well at work, that it allows me to do that. But I try to be very aware with my calendar, and um yeah, just trying to make sure that I'm not one of my buckets is not falling in any way.
I appreciate that. That's
Yep.
deep. And you know that at the age of 12. Like, what? You are I mean, you're already successful, but you are going to be even more successful. Like, are you, and not that I'm kind of like territorial and jealous, but are you accepting more clients?
Not right now. No, I'm not. I'm not right now. Um,
Thank the Lord. No, I'm playing.
Nia keeps me so busy, guys. No, I'm kidding. She's keeps me underwater. No, and no, I'm not right now. I wish I was, but I think it's a good thing because I mean, even this week I had two recordings. I had one in person, I had one this morning, but I think a lot of my biggest goal this year was to do these four events. And so a lot of my time and energy what is like we just sent out the round one of pitches last night to people and we got a yes back today, and so we did like a little dance around. So my energy is being spent heavily on these four events, and so um we've got two of four on the calendar. We're getting through these. Yeah. um but I mean, like John Race in the store is a client, and they just had a partnership with a local business here. So we had that announcement go live today. I mean, I am plenty busy that I'm incredibly lucky. I always do love taking on clients and being able to hear how I can help. I've done a variety of different things from podcast editing to completely taking over people's socials and posting for them and being able to do that stuff, or even if it's just getting a content calendar together for somebody. Like that is the biggest issue that a lot of people have, is that they're like, well, I post stuff. I'm like, all right, what's your cadence? And they're like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
So
Are
just to
you
be
speaking
able
Spanish?
just to be able to build that, that's my specialty, is going into businesses and companies, and when social media has just been hanging off of somebody's desk, come in as this full-time person and completely build. um I am not good as a person who just sits there and turns the dials. I have to be able to build, or else I'm not stimulated in the way that I want to be. And so um it's a good thing with freelance clients that you're there for 6 months, you're there for a year, you're there for whatever they need you for. um but it's a interesting journey, and I've loved from every client I get to learn more and more about the industry, what's changing, clients needs. It's really helpful.
That's amazing. And with the industry changing, you mentioned this with AI. Do you foresee the future where like we're going to be using AI more? Do you see trends that are going to die off, trends that you want to keep?
Yeah, I do see. I mean, when AI became a thing a few years ago, my dad looked at my sister and I. He was a guy who's been in software for 35 years. That's where he spent the majority of his time, is building software. And so he looked at my sister and I. He's like, learn it or else you're not going to understand. He's like, this is where this is going. This is where our world is going. And so even for me, I've told people, I'm like, make your lives easier and figure out some of these things. Like Opus Pro is an incredible platform. You can upload an entire video, which I do for every podcast episode, and it'll spit out, based on how long it is, 25 to 30 clips, video clips for you to be able to use on social media. That would take me hours to sit there and siphon through an entire episode, where that just made my life a million times easier because I could upload my branding, I could upload my font, and all I have to do is go in and make sure that it looks okay. Absolutely. I think that's a great tool. I think it's going to increase. I think we have to get smarter about how we use it, though. I think a lot of what you're seeing on, I'll throw out LinkedIn because it's the one where I think it's going to get misused, is a lot of people are doing the same cookie cutter kind of copy when it comes to things. And
Mhm.
you can tell it's very chat GPT, which isn't a bad thing. And if that's what you want, that's great. If you're looking for things to really increase, for engagement to raise, we have to be smarter with it. We have to work smarter. We have to really prompt it. We have to really, if we don't like something, put it back and say, hey, this is what I want it to change. So I can definitely see us, we have to work with it. We have to be smarter about it as well. We can't just put it in and say, hey, I'm going to take the first thing that it spits out. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Be smarter with it. But I mean, I see a lot of tools that have been helpful, and I've certainly carried tools around with me, and I've from company to company. Um, Trends that I see, I don't really see. I don't know if any trends will go away. It's hard. I tell people all the time, I'm like, it's hard to make a plan for social media for a year or even for a quarter because I mean, TikTok was essentially gone, but then was back 12 hours later. And I had said in those 12 hours, I said, well, thank God I didn't start a TikTok page for my company because that it would have been a waste. It would have been not even worth it for us to be able to do it. So I think just staying on top of all these different platforms that are coming in and leaving. I think it'll be interesting. Blue Sky is becoming popular as an alternative for Twitter. And it's actually it was created by the old founder of Twitter.
Wow.
So it will be interesting to see if this takes off and truly becomes a competitor to Twitter. Because I think a lot of people have gotten really sick and tired of Twitter after the last political go around and all the stuff that's being pumped on there that people are jumping ship and jumping over to Blue Sky because it's not like Twitter. There's not a lot of that toxicity. There's not a lot there. So it's interesting to see what's changing, what's coming in, what's going out. I think what's going to be constant is, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn aren't going anywhere. They're not
Yeah.
going anywhere. They're not. I think, there will be more capabilities that get added. Um, we always go back and forth on Instagram. Are reels doing better than photos? Are photos doing better than reels? Instagram always changes priority there. But it's just interesting. We just got to stay up to date with all the changing of the times.
See, this is why I feel old because I feel like how my mom, like, sometimes she'll like, "Can you do this?" And I'm like, "Never mind, let me just do it." And now I feel like that. I feel like I can't keep up, and I'm 32 years old. Like,
Yeah.
Danielle, how can I keep up? How can we keep up without
Yeah.
feeling stressed? Is there like even a way?
I don't really think that there is. I on LinkedIn I follow and I'm connected with a bunch of people who are social media managers and getting to learn from each other is incredibly important. But it I will have people that will post like, "Hey, here's the newest updates on Instagram." And for me, it's kind of really just how do you go through this and how are you just in the platforms and you're learning and you're figuring this out yourself and everybody is just kind of figuring it out. I don't think it's anything that any one place anybody can really stay up to date on these things. If there is, would love to hear it myself. It'll make my job just a smidgen easier, but I think it's just truly it's putting it into practice and figuring out how you like to use it, how you don't. I mean, it's it'll be interesting what the next little bit has to offer. And I think it's even interesting right now. We're doing a lot of testing on LinkedIn. Like, do vertical videos do better than horizontal videos on LinkedIn? Does that get any higher engagement? Is that what we're seeing? And so it's interesting to go back and forth with all these things and test and see. But reels are not going away, thank God. And that's basically what my entire conversation series Instagram is built off of. But it's, do people's appetites change from the 20 seconds of being, short attention spans to are we able to watch a minute in 10 seconds? Are we able to watch a minute in 30 seconds? What is the capacity for everybody land? So it's just interesting to see how we can continue to watch. I'm a data person, so for me being able to really get to see who is, the time of day when you post an Instagram story, does it affect how many people see it? Does it affect if you're posting at 9 o'clock at night compared to 9 o'clock in the morning? Does that do anything at all? So it's interesting to see and put all these things into practice, and you just constantly are just putting it into practice.
You are. Woo! Your parents did a good job with you. What kind of magic did they put into the sauce? Danielle, what does the future look like for you? Like, what is your ultimate goal?
Oh my gosh. Um, I say all the time, I'm very, very grateful for my full-time job. I'm very grateful because it has a bunch of ups and downs and it has a bunch of different learnings. But for me, ultimately, like if I could have last year, I would have gone and done the conversation series full time. And I even think looking back and saying that, that would have been very naive because I think I was still in a place where I was battling the inner thoughts and saying, I don't know if if this is worth it to continue. But I think every year has a bunch of different, like I said, learnings that comes out of it and a bunch of different feelings. And so I did a lot of prep work towards the end of the year to make sure that we started 2025 on the right note and just getting really honed in on the goals. So ultimately saying that my biggest goal that I've kind of, figured out in the last year and a half was I would love to go start my own media company in the sense of I would love to not be Spotify. I don't want to be Spotify or any of these big, like I said, mainstream networks. I want to be able to find the smaller podcasts or the podcasts that are just doing their own damn thing, like Humanitarian Heartbeat, that are doing great things, having great guests on, that are speaking to their audience and doing a great job of it, having phenomenal guests that are making a difference in the world. Um, and basically create a media company where it is producing these shows. It is helping with the editing. It is helping with the social media. It is helping with the guest outreach, but it's also um, being able to say, all right, we do have social media management clients. We do have content management. We do have all of these different things. We can, if you want to go do events, I have a perfect person for you. If you need a photographer, here's a perfect photographers. If you need some video crews, here's some video people that I know. It's being able to put all of this. And I've been incredibly lucky through the conversation series, through my work, that I've been able to meet some great people that I can say and I can recommend to people to be able to use them and be able to say, hey, I do have connections now that I can go do all of this. So that's the big goal, is to be able to do this. And I think we're working really hard on it.
And you have your community.
Mm, yeah. Growing pretty good too.
Oh my, and you're 12. I just,
I'm 12.
I just, if people are, so first of all, my first question is why
Yeah.
the conversation series? Why not the community? Why not, like, why
Yeah.
that name in particular?
Yeah, I think this is actually funny because people get caught. I get a lot of questions of why, you know, when should I go start my podcast? I'm like, do it right now. Do it right now. Because if you keep waiting, things are never going to be 100%. And so the conversation series really started was when I graduated college, podcasts were becoming a bigger thing. And so I was like, I want to do a podcast, but I also want to do this series on my YouTube. And so it being based around conversations, I kind of just went in and this is what it is. We're having conversations and I started, God bless the friends that I had that, were doing things and I was lucky enough to have them on for just to test and just to see what it was like. Um, and I got several episodes in, and I was like, hold on, this is the podcast. And so turned it into the podcast, but really just wanted to keep it simple and just, this is the conversation series. This is, we are sitting down to have a conversation. This is nothing more, that we're not prying open old wounds. We're not doing any of this. We're sitting down to have a conversation. We're learning from each other. We're connecting. We're teaching back and forth. This is, the guest is teaching. We're overall doing teaching. We're pointing out things. And so what I've really loved is, I mean, even today, yesterday was girls and women's day in sports. My favorite day of the year. I absolutely love it. It's my favorite because being so connected to the sports world, I have been mansplained sports. I have been all of these things. But to be able to sit down with somebody today who is the founder of She's for Sports Media in Canada and just hear the incredible things that they are doing for women in sports. I mean, that's what it is. I want to get people involved. I want to make sure that people have, if you're interested in being a chef, if you're interested, great, we have episodes for you. If you're interested in healthcare, we have episodes from you from a variety of different angles. From I have a love, and I growing up worked with kids with autism. So how can I, with my connections, be able to tell that story for how companies are helping kids with autism? How can I do it from all these different angles? And so just really, we're sitting down for a conversation. We're sitting down. We're not doing anything more than that, because that's what it was growing up for us. We're sitting down around a table and we're having a conversation. So I kept it really simple that way. And sometimes I go back and I'm like, God, I should rename it. But it's been the best thing of, this is the conversation series. And it is a series because it keeps going and it keeps going. And so it's been fun.
I love that. And I even love sort of the paradox in that. So when people think of social media, you think of not talking, you think of, these kids don't give eye contact. They can't,
Yeah.
spell anything.
Yeah.
And then, your work is in social media. So usually people think of social media and no
Yeah.
conversation. And
Yeah.
then you have this entire platform on social media
Yeah.
on, that offers that conversation. That's interesting.
Yeah, I've learned a lot over the years too, and my guests have taught me things. And I always like to say, if I can get just 1% better every single episode, that's a win for me. I used to, my questions used to just be terrible. And I used to, I'd have a long list that I'd try to be hustling through to get through these episodes. And so I've gotten better with my question asking and figuring out, what are the questions that are really important to be asking? What are the things that I want to get out of each guest?
Mhm.
I used to talk way more than I should in my episodes. I got better at that. I have been continuously working on, how do I sit in a conversation while the guest is talking and not let my mind run to, oh, I need to ask this question, this. I need to do these, all these things. That's hard, especially for someone who is always thinking and constantly his mind is on. How do you sit here and be present and in the conversation and not be thinking about the next question, or where you need to go in the conversation? And so it's gotten better. I hope it's gotten better. I went through a process at the beginning of end of 2023, that I had a prior guest on who um, is here in my community, and she does branding, she does artwork and all these things. And I had asked her, I was like, if this is going to be serious, I want to completely rebrand. And so we rebranded. She did a lot better job than I could have possibly done it, but she rebranded for me. So we went through this whole thing. So now we've got a whole brand and brand guidelines that we go by. And it's just, uh, it's just how do I get better at doing these things? And it's a constant tug and pull back and forth.
I heard the Southern accent there.
There it is. There it is, the little twinge of it.
Where can people find you? Because I know everybody's like, I want to be her guest.
Yeah, yeah. So, predominantly on Instagram, you can follow. It's at the dot conversation series. I'm there predominantly the most amount of time. I'm on TikTok. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. But predominantly it's Instagram and LinkedIn, and so can find me there. Follow along the conversation series. It's where everything, there's things going up every single day of episode highlights, new episodes coming out, video clips from YouTube, all of these things just of guests. And so that's where I am most of the time is Instagram is my best friend.
And your highlights, your entire brand is so engaging. Like, I'm like, what did she just post? And like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time looking around at some of my favorite people to follow and some of my favorite podcasts to follow. And what are some things that I can pick up? What are some things that are important for, listeners and viewers to understand? So I really wanted to make sure that when a new episode does come out, that they have a full understanding and full bio in the sense of what is important to know about this person. What are you going to take away from each of these episodes, and where can you find each of these guests? So I do my Instagram, the conversation series Instagram is, I have a highlight for every single one of my guests because I want every single one of my guests to have a space that whether you were on this year, whether you were on 2 years ago, and you come to me and you say, "Hey, Danielle, I have something coming up, would love to utilize you to be able to share out on your socials so we can get people at this event, we can share a new product, whatever it is, I can share it and I can add it to their Instagram highlight." So it's been really cool. I don't envision that going away anytime soon, but I do love doing it because I want to make sure that all of my guests have their own specific place that we can show them off.
That's all I've been saying all day. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, they did a good job with you.
I didn't get the Italian skin or any of that stuff, but I did get some smarts, hopefully.
Hustle.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm one of those people that I'm very lucky for my full-time job that I get to travel and I get to go to trade shows and I get to be in these places and learn and cover and do social media there. Um, I love the environment of trade shows. I'm not someone who is like, I'm an introvert. And so socially, I'm like, it takes me a little bit to get me into conversation if I don't know you. But once I'm there, and in those environments, like I said, I thrive in chaos. I love that energy. I love to be able to be in these places and hustle and do what I love to do. And so it's fun. And then at the end of the day, you can collapse in bed and just go, take a deep breath.
I
So,
Yeah. There's nothing else to say, but they did a great job. And my, my last question is, you wear so many hats and you do so
oh.
much. Who do you say you are, though?
Yeah, I am. For my people, I am the person that if you call, no matter where it is, I will be there. I am the person that will drop pretty much everything and get to you as quick as I possibly can. That's me growing up in a close family. That's me having I don't have a massive group of friends. I have a very small group of friends. Um, but that's me that if you ever need me for anything, I am the person that drops everything and gets to you. Um, and I wouldn't say I pride myself on that, but I love being that person for people that they know that they can call me and they know that they can rely on me to get to them. um, they know that um, I'll always be there to make sure they're taken care of. So that's who I am, and that's who I say I am for everybody. You can go into titles of daughter and older sister, which, I love her to pieces and she drives me crazy. Like typical siblings do. She's getting ready to get married and she's driving me crazy. She's driving me nuts. I love her. She's driving me crazy. Um, but I could go into all the titles and I make sure that I'm the person um that shows up for everybody whenever they need me. Best friends call me crying. I'm like, I'm on my way. I'm on
Mhm.
my way to get to you. Um, so yeah.
They did a great job. I mean, you have heard Danielle, the oh my gosh, the jack of all trades. The lady who has a resume like she's 107 but is only
I
20.
feel 107. I feel it. I feel old. I make the joke all the time to my dad, and he looks at me. He's like, Danielle, shut the up. And I'm like, sorry. I do feel old though. I like squat down and my knees crack and everything. That's from all my running days. I'm like, guys, getting old. No, I've been told I have a very, very old soul. My sister says I've been here for many, many times. And so I feel I feel very old.
You're just so like you have such a beautiful southern spirit.
Thank you.
Um
Born and
it's
raised.
it's relatable, it's
Yeah.
pure.
Yeah.
Um you have a great energy about yourself.
Thank you.
So I know for sure like
Yeah.
you're gonna be touring all over the world or like literally whatever. If you want the conversation series to be a Broadway show, if you want it to be like on the road,
Yep. On
like
the road again.
yeah,
No,
what
I would love to. I've always had the idea as well as you get past the live audience recordings and everything in terms of like, do I have a guest in Austin, Texas? Can I go set up and do a live audience recording there? How about in Seattle, Washington, all these different places. So you never know what's going to happen. I like having these big ideas and I love when people tell me I can't do things.
ooh,
I'm like, hold my beer, watch this. I did it. I mean, it's what got me into half marathons. I ran my first half marathon in eighth grade because I had accidentally said something and I was like, crap. So ran it and I've been doing it ever since. And it's just, I'm like, I am the type of person, you tell me I can't do something, I will prove you wrong.
and running is a mental sport anyway.
Oh,
Like
God.
I used to be a runner, but now I'm like, I just rather be doing something else. Like, how do you
It's it is probably, I don't want to say it's the hardest, but it is mentally one of the hardest, I think, because when you are having to, from my experience, run 13.1 miles, you hit mile 10 and you're like, holy shit, I still have 3.1 to go. But then you always look and you're like, but I just ran 10 miles. So you're trying to imagine that you're starting at zero. I can run 3.1. I can do that. But your body is telling you, yes, but you just ran 10. You're just, you need to sit down. You're not supposed to. It's hard. It's really, really hard. And it is mentally taxing as it is physically. And so, I have people who come up to me, they're like, I want to start running. I'm like, don't do it unless you're 100% ready to go. It is hard because not only do you have, like I said, the physicality where you want to make sure you're in the right shoes, you want to make sure that while you're running, you're still strength training and making sure your legs are strong, making sure your upper body's strong, your back, all of these things. You're mentally having to get on the hamster wheel of a treadmill if it's raining outside and run 3 miles, 5 miles, something like that. Just shoot me if I have to get over 5 miles. But you get to all this and you're like, some of this stuff being a runner has mentally helped me get through a lot harder things. But it's also at the same time, I've used running as an escape when I needed to face issues. So it's once again, it's one of those push and pull, but it's mentally taxing.
You,
Yeah.
but the Irish Italian in you, you just keep it going. Like whether it's running or your 9 to 5 or you're a million entrepreneurial pursuits, conversation series, you're doing this travel, sports, like everything. You just keep going though.
Yeah. I love it too much to stop, quite honestly. And that's what I always come back to when I think about quitting is I just love it too much. I think the emotions kick in sometimes and you have to take a step back and say, hold on a second, we're okay. We love what we do. You're gonna have hard days, you're gonna have really great days, but getting through those, you're like, okay, it makes us stronger. But it also, if you love it enough, you don't let it go because you're going to regret it later down the road. I closed down my blog, but I was never a writer. I was always someone who was better with a camera. And so for me, being able to close that down allowed me to focus on the YouTube side, allowed me to pay more attention on, um, other things that could bring in revenue, like an Amazon storefront that just is a nice little side thing that sits there, but it still brings in some stuff. So you have to figure out what you love and what pieces of it do you love and what you want to focus on. I think, a common thing we say to everybody is, um, getting on social media, pick one platform,
Yeah.
go kick ass on that platform. Once you go kick ass on that platform, go pick up another one, but don't think you have to sign up for all five right at this very moment. I think it's important to make sure you harness what you're really good at and make sure you spend the time doing the things that you love. And if you don't love it, is it time to let it go? Or is there a way to fix it so you do love it? But if there's no way of fixing it, let it go because you're not going to, nothing's going to make you love it.
Mm, you did a great job raising you. You knew what I was going to say.
Nia says this to me all the time.
Such a great job.
It's a great job. I think we spent at least 10 minutes before Nia was on the conversation series just talking about our dads. And I was like, and then I recorded with Narda, Nia's mom, and I was like, I gotta tell you, I love your daughter. I love her. She's incredible. And your mom goes, thank you.
Mind you, she's listening to the episode when I'm saying my daddy. She's like, whatever.
Whatever. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it bugs the living crap out of my mom the fact that, like, I am so much like my dad. But I'm like,
You chose him. So that's
I'm
what I
like,
say to my.
I always make the joke. I'm like, work a little harder. Work a little harder and you wouldn't. No, I'm kidding. No, my sister is her carbon copy. So she's at least got one, but yeah, I am very much I've got my dad's work ethic. I've been lucky enough that he has been in a variety of different roles and I've gotten to learn from him. And he's been someone that I'll call and I'll talk to and I'm like, "Hey, I have this hypothetical situation. What do you see happening here?" And he's always been somebody that I can call and walk through these things. And move furniture in and out of houses and yell at each other doing that, and then go to a hockey game and we sit there and we high five each other and all these things. So he's been a variety of different roles for me, but he's always been there to make sure that we're taken care of and that he's there when we need him to be.
Shout out, Daddy. We love you. And Mom too, before they slap us.
Yeah. I still love you. Still love you. I'm just not your carbon copy. And it's okay. And it's all right.
You have heard the words of Danielle. Follow her on the Conversation series. She said Instagram. She said Twitter. I know you, and you're kind of old because don't they call it X now?
They do. And I just can't. I've been on Twitter that long where I'm like, guys, it's Twitter.
I said she's kind of getting older because she keeps saying Twitter and it's X. Keep up with the times.
It's Twitter. Bring back the bird. Bring it back.
Oh my gosh. Follow her because you are going to be sucked in to every conversation that she has. And she said she's not accepting clients right now. Thank God, no. But make sure you still follow her.
I need to look at her and go, bye, Nia. But Nia's not going anywhere. Nia will kick me out before I kick Nia out.
For life, but still follow her because you never know with all the many hats that she wears, and she can help you. She helps this podcast. She helps everybody. So still touch base because you're going to need her. Stop, Danielle. This is the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast. I had the pleasure of interviewing Danielle, the Conversation series and creator.
I feel I need a crown. I need the Zoom thing to pop up with a crown on my head when it does that.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast. Remember, each conversation brings us closer to a world where compassion thrives. Stay connected, stay informed, and let's keep the heartbeat of humanity alive. Subscribe, share, and be a part of our journey to make a difference, one conversation at a time. Until next time, keep your hearts open, your minds curious, be a blessing to others, and give agape love. God bless.